If you have not submitted your assignment, please do. I'm still waiting. I'll start calling people's name for who do not submit assignments. There's no way that I can verify your learning progress if you don't submit assignments. So the people who have been very judicious about submitting assignments, well done. I see your efforts and you're doing well. All right? I see your efforts, you're doing well. Well done, well done, well done. To those who have not submitted one assignment, I'm seeing them in class now like this, right? We enter our trouser very soon. All right. So please do well to forward your assignment. It is to ensure that you're learning and to give you confidence. To give you confidence. That is why we give these assignments. It is not about the certificate. It is more about the knowledge, right? It's more about the knowledge. And the knowledge, you can only get the knowledge by doing, right? You can only get the knowledge by doing. You can only give yourself a confidence rate by doing, right? So please do make sure that you do your assignment. If you have not done any of the assignments, please reach out to the group, or the assignments are on the group. Ensure that you do them so that we can proceed and progress. All right. So last class we spoke about DDL. We continued DDL last class, right? Now, okay, before we start today, please, I would like to mention that if you have any question, right, that's why it is good for you to join the class early. If you have any question, please forward them to me on Telegram, right? Forward them to me on Telegram so that we can limit the break that is in between the classes, right? Or you wait till the end of, unless it is very important, right? Unless it's very important, right? So that we can limit the breaks in between the classes, in the breaks in between the classes and cover a lot, right? So please, if you have questions, right? And if you have questions, right, you might just have to delay your question a little bit more, right, so that I can explain, because most of the things that we ask, right, if you watch the videos, most of the things that we ask, I usually explain them along the way, right? So please, right, let us limit the questions. I'm not saying we should not ask questions, but if there are questions that would delay us, right, you can write them down and we answer them at the end of the class so that we can cover a lot, right? We still have a lot to cover, right, on SQL. And today is our 5th class already, right? So please, and I do not want us to extend this program unnecessarily. So please, thank you for complying. All right, so last class, we started, I hope you can see my screen, right? All right, so last class, so we started talking about data definition, and we said data definition language are used to manage the structure of the database, right? Manage the structure of the database object, right? Let me put objects there so that you know that it's not just the database, but the database objects, right? To manage the structures of the database object. And we talked about create, alter, drop, rename, and truncate, right? So we started talking about, all right, we started with drop, we created some databases and we dropped them, right? Then we talked about the C schema, right? I just want to drop right into where we did a lot of stuff, right? So, and we did an assignment on that. I think we've done about 2-3 assignments on this already, which is really awesome. And I see that a whole lot of us are following. So please follow me as I follow Christ, right? So it's awesome, right, that we're able to use the create table statement now. Everybody here, I believe, can use the create table statement, right? The create table statement, right? The create table statement, you define the name of the table after the create table clause, and in brackets after the name of the table, you define each of your columns, right? You define each of your columns and their data types. right? We talked about that. We've talked about that extensively, right? We've talked about that extensively. We talked about the data types and how to use the right data types, right? This is the first assignment that we did. And then we looked at that as well. We looked at the solution of that, right? And we talked about unsigned, integer unsigned, and then big int, right? I told us about the length of each of these values, of these data types and their importance, right? Awesome, right? Last class, we also dived deeply into the concept of constraints, right? We dived deeply into the concept of constraints, right? We dive deeply into the concept of constraints, right? So we said constraints are they are database objects that helps us enforce rules. They help us enforce rules on each of the column, right? And we said there are about 5 of them: the primary key constraint, the foreign key constraint, the unique key constraint, the not null, and the check constraint, right? The not null and the check constraint, right? So, and we started using them last class, right? You can see an example of that of constraints here, right? Here, we're creating a table, right, called citizens, and we assigned not null constraints to almost every column that has to do what, that does not need or that cannot contain null value. And we assign primary key column to the key to the column, primary key constraint to the column that must be unique to every observation or every row, and that cannot contain what duplicate. So we explained what primary key is, we explained what not null is, we explained what unique key is, right? Last class. Today we want to start from. So today we also talked about the alter table statement, even though we skipped 2 constraints last class, right? And I said we skipped the foreign key constraint and the check constraint. We skipped the foreign key constraint and the check constraint last class, right? And today we're going to start from there, right? We're going to wrap up the DDL in another 20, 30 minutes now. We're going to wrap up the DL this evening. Then we'll move into DML statements, right? DML statements are more easy and very interesting as well. So yeah, last class also we talked about, after constraint, we talked about the alter table statement, right? Can you remember? Right? Please let me know if you can hear me. Right? We talked about the alter table statement. Just raise your hand if you can hear me, right? Just raise up your hand if you can hear me and you can see my screen. Just raise up your hand. Just use the hand raising function if you can hear me and you can see my screen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm still expecting more people. Thank you. Viola, I did not get your assignment. Iceman, I didn't get your assignment. Femi, I didn't get your assignment. I think I need to be calling people. Ebuka, I didn't get your assignments. You people will need down on Tuesday. You raise up your hand and you close your eyes. Right? Awesome. Awesome. I want to believe the other person can hear me. Madam Ano, can you hear me? Femi, can you hear me? Madam Angela, can you hear me? Madam Peju, can you hear me? Sammy, can you hear me? Please confirm if you can hear me so that I can move forward. Awesome. 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 All right. I believe majority can hear me. All right. So if you look at it, right, we talked about the alter table statement, and we said the alter table statement is the DDL statement that we use to change the structure of an object, right? In the case of a table, we use the alter table statement to modify or to add or to drop a column or whatever structure we want to change. You can use the alter table statement to change the data type of a particular column, to change the name of a particular column, to drop a particular column, and to do all sorts of stuff that you can do with a column on a table, right? So the alter table statement, right, helps us take control of a table and take control of the content of the structure of a table, sorry, the structure of the table, and we can really work with it after the table has been created, right? And we looked at a few business cases, right, that can help us understand alter table, right? So we say the alter table statement here we are adding columns, right, to a table, right? We're adding an extra column to a table, right? Here we added another column as well. added another column here as well. Here we use the what? We use the rename, right? Which is also a DDL statement. We use the rename function or the rename clause, right? To rename a particular column to a new name, right? 1 minute, please. I have an unwanted guest here. 1 minute. Apologize for that break. Apologize for that. My senior lecturer was talking, so I didn't want him to disturb the class. All right. So, so we looked at several other business cases on how to modify here. We started modifying a particular column, all right, and we extended the data type to a length of 150 from 50, right? So we also use the other table towards the other table column, other table statement to drop a column, right? You can drop a column that is created already. So basically, that is all that you can do with an order table statement. So our first assignment today, right? You see, today sharp is just to get us going. Assignment. I hope you are following. Please take this down. First assignment, I want to be dropping it as it is hot. Class 5. Add three more attributes to the driver's license entity. Created earlier. That's one. Two. Drop two attributes from the list of attributes created from them. Drop two attributes from the list of attributes created. Drivers entity. 3. Rename the primary key column and extend the first name column, extend the length first name column to 70. All right, so this is our first take home for today, right? First take home for today. Please do well to attempt it as we have been doing. For those that have not done it, that have not done any, you are owing me assignments. We'll wait for you on Judgment Day. All right, so today, right? Today we want to start with the check constraints. Let me quickly take away the check constraints from this list. The check constraints. All right, let's quickly take away the check constraint. All right, so what is the check constraint and what does it do? Of course, we understand what constraint does now, right? We understand how constraint works now, but the check constraint is a constraint that helps us that is created on a column such that the values that wants to be added to the column must meet that condition, or that condition must be true for them for that value to be inserted, right? So it's like I'm saying that on the check constraint, the column, the table, the column that you had the check constraint on, right? Every value that you want to insert into that column must meet or must be true, must meet that condition. The condition must be true for them, else they will not be able to be inserted, right? Let's take for example, right? Let's do a business case, right? A business case here, right? Looking at the let's see, what database do we have here? Let's describe. Okay, we have salary. We have salary. So let's describe staff. Okay, let's use all right, let's describe staff. All right, so if you look at it now, right, you see that the staff column here, right, is an integer column, but it contains null value, can contain null value. So we want to add a check constraint. So it says business case, add ensure that every employee or every staff earns at least $1,000, right? Ensure on the database that ensure that ensure that every staff earns at least $1,000, right? Ensure that every staff earn at least $1,000, right? So if I'm going to run two create table statements. I'm going to run a create table statement and an alter table statement for that. But I'm going to start with the alter table, right? The table already exists, you can see. So I'm going to say alter. I hope you're following me. Alter table staff, right? Modify. What column are we modifying? Modifying the salary column. Integer, right? Unsigned, right? And I'm adding a check constraint to it to say check that salary is greater than or equals to 1,000. All right. Alter table, staff, modify salary, integer unsigned. Check that what salary is greater than what. So this is the condition that has to be met for every value, for every employee or every staff in the organization, right? Their salary must be above, that is greater than or equals to 1,000. If we run that, right, that statement executes, right? If we describe staff again, right? Let's see. Right, we would not see it there, but it is what it is already. What is already implemented, right? We'll look at it when we want to when we want to add values into that column, right? So that is what that is check constraint, right? In the case of driver's license, right? I do not have the driver's license column, so let me go to Nigeria. Let's use Nigeria. All right, so let me see let me see somebody's code that I can use. Let's use somebody's code here. Come in. Those that do not submit assignment, this is somebody's code, right? That I want to use here. Awesome. Awesome. Can you see? Awesome stuff, right? So I'm just going to copy this create table statement from this person. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to take it into the script, right? So let's look at it. Let's look at it. Right? So NIN. All right, I'm going to edit this a little bit. I'm going to edit this a little bit. I'm going to call it driver's license. So when I said driver's license, what I was expecting the entity is driver's license, right? It is the entity. That's the name of the table, right? That's what the name of the table is supposed to be, right? So when you actually create an entity is the name of the table, right? Right? On your driver's license, I want to just correct a few things here, right? The notion is right, but we also need to look at, if you look at the proper Nigerian national driver's license, I'm not sure there's NIN on that, so I'm going to remove NIN. I don't think there's NIN on our national. So maybe we can replace that and say, okay, let's undo that. Let's undo that. Let's bring it back. All right, let's call it driver's ID, right? Driver's license ID. Right? So I'll call it DID. Right? Right. So we have surname, we have first name, Waka 220, Waka 220, middle name, right? Date of birth, right? Not null, right? We have what do we have now? Okay, so date of birth now, not null. And let's put a check, right? Check that date underscore off underscore birth is what is 18 years from now, before now. Somebody help me. 18 years, 2023 to what will give us 18 years now? Hello, help me out here now.
2005, I think.
2005.
2005.
20.
Yeah. So let's say that date of birth must be less than, right? Must be less than let's call it, we're not very certain now, but let's say 2005 hyphen 01 hyphen 01, right? Awesome, right? So that's our check constraint. Let me just drop that so that you can see. That's our check constraint. That's our check constraint on that date of birth. Can you see? So we are saying that anybody that is not born before, that is born after this date, that's why we say date of birth less than. So check that the date of birth is less than this date, right? It means that for you to have a driver's license, you must be born before this date. Are you following me? You must be what? You must be born before this date, right? Date of birth might not be the ideal situation, because what happens if if we are in 2024, all right, or 2023, right? So date of birth might not be the actual, but let me leave that there. Let's say age, right? Let's say age. Let's add the age column, right? We say age is what? Integer, right? Let's say it is unsigned as well. I hope you're following me, right? It's unsigned, and I can put a check on age now and say age. Make sure that age is what? Greater than or equals to 18. Check that age is what? Greater than or equals to 18. So which means that, right? Let me just remove this clause here now. Let's remove this clause here. So, all right. So this is more ideal for, it is more ideal. The check constraint is more ideal for age than for date of birth, right? So you have date of birth, right? Date of birth. Now, you can actually write it such that the date of birth can count for every single value, right? But that will be stressful, right? We can't go through that in this class. But we're using the age. We're saying that age now, we have what? So the age must be not null, right? It can't be empty, right? It can't be empty. And we are putting a check constraint on it, right? We're putting a check constraint on it so that the age is at least what? At least 18. That is how to use check constraint, either on creating a table, when you are creating a table, or in the other table statements, right? So this is check constraint in an alter table statement. Please let me know if you understood what I just explained, right? Let me know if you understood what I just explained. Please let me know if you understood what I just explained. Sorry. For the sake of video, I'm not going to mention what just happened, but my Nigerian people know just what just happened. So give me a minute, let me fix what just happened. American people around the world will see my video, so we don't want to tell them what happened in the video. All right, so give me 1 minute. Let me rectify what just happened. I'm sure you can't see me anymore, right?
We can see you. We can see you.
You can still see me, really?
Yeah, we can see you.
Hey, hold on. All right, just Abiola, hold on 1 minute. Just give me a minute. Let me fix what just happened. All right, you people know what happened. Apologies once again. I'm back. Abiola, I saw your hand was raised before. Do you have a question?
Sir, is there any way that we can make it to be at this age we don't have to manually impute it?
Manually impute in what sense?
The age. Here, there is nothing that says that the age will be calculated from the date of birth.
Now, the age one might not be able to do that because they are separate columns. Do you understand? They are separate
okay.
columns. Right. If we were trying to what's it called now? If it was, of course, if we're trying to create a function or something for it, of course, we can calculate the age from the date of birth. But in this situation, right, the columns are separate. So we might not be able to do that, right? Might not be able to do that. All right. I hope we all understand that, right? I hope we all understand that. Right? Look at it. Height. Right? We can put a check constraint on height to say that check that height is greater than 0. Can you see? Check that what? Height is what? Is greater than 0. Check that height is greater than 0. Let me see. We can say phone number. Nigeria phone number is 11. Check that length of phone number let me bring this down. Check that length of phone number is equals to 11. Can you see? So you can see the way I'm using the check constraint, right? You can see the way I'm using the check constraint. So yeah, I'm checking that the length of the phone number is equals to 11, right? I'm checking here that what height is greater than 0. I'm checking here that age is what is above 18, right? So if I run my code now, right? If I run my code now, that column of that table should be created, right? Can you see? Created already. So if we reload our schema, right? Can you see my driver's license table created? Any question before we move on?
So every time I open the app, it goes back to that state where I can't run any of the codes.
And you might have to, what's it called? Automate your signing in, right? You have to put your password every time you sign in, right?
Oh, it doesn't ask me to do that.
We'll talk about that later.
I think it's not connected.
Yeah, it's not connected to the database. That's what it means, right? Just hold on after. You know what to do after. Is it working now?
No.
All right. Go to your database. Can you see my screen? Connect to database.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Click on the instance and connect to it and say okay to connect. Make sense?
Yes, it has worked.
Ask me a question. Huh?
It has worked.
All right. Beauty. Don't know. But it's all right. Let's continue. Please let me know if you understood that. If you understood that concept, please just raise up your hand. Let me see all the hands raised. Let me see if you understood the concept that I just explained. All right. Let me see your hands up. If you understood the concept I just explained, awesome. 2 people. All right. If you have questions now is the time to ask questions. If you understand the concept, let me see your hands. Please raise your hands. Awesome. Oh, wow. Madam Olaide, awesome. of AA Oshe, my personal coin. All right, awesome. 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 I'm waiting for more hands raised. I'm waiting for more hands. I'm waiting for more hands. If you do not understand the concept, please ask questions now so that we can go over it before we move to the next thing. All right. I'm waiting for more hands. All right. Madam Kweju, Madam Odoak, are you there? Sammy, are you there? Madam Angela, give me feedback. Do you understand it so that I can move on? Yeah. Do you understand that concept?
A bit.
A bit. What part of it don't you understand so that we can clarify that now?
Don't worry, I'll watch it.
Ma?
I'll watch the video again.
All right. All right. Sammy. All right. Now put your hands down now. Right. Let's move to the next thing. Let's move to the next thing. Next thing we want to talk about is our foreign key. Right. We'll talk about foreign keys. Foreign keys. Right. So what is a foreign key? Basically, right? A foreign key is a primary key column referenced on another table. Basically, it's as simple as that. When you reference a primary key of a table on another table, that primary key becomes a foreign key, right? It becomes a foreign key column because foreign keys, primary key columns are lookup values, right? They are lookup values. They are basically pointers. On another table, it becomes a pointer. It becomes a reference. Basically, what that means is that if you have, take for example, right? If we have, let's say for instance, right, in some word, right, we put NIN here. Are you following me? We put NIN here as a column, right? We put NIN here, right, as a column, right? Now, what does that mean, right? If we, of course, this table, right, would not need. Now, this is where it comes into where everything becomes really good, right? If I put NIN here, right? Remember that the NIN uniquely identifies each Nigerian, right? If I put an NIN there, right, then it means that I do not have to put the surname, first name, last name, middle name, date of birth, age, all of that on this table anymore. In fact, I don't need every of these other details anymore on this table anymore. Because what does that mean? It means that if all of these are still here, then there's what we call redundancy. The data is duplicated because the NIN, right? The table of the NIN probably contains everything, right? If you look at the citizens table, right? If you let's describe it, right? Look at the citizens table. You will see that everything that you need about what the citizen is what is here, and which is what, which is probably the source of what of your NIN. Right? Can you see it? Citizen. Right? So every citizen has an NIN. Can you see? Every citizen has an NIN. So you can see that because you have an NIN, this citizen table contains everything that you need to know about the person, right? The first name, the last name, the middle name, gender, all of those things, right? It contains everything such that if this NIN now, this NIN is a primary key here. Can you see? Right? Okay, we didn't create it here, right? It's a primary key. It will be a primary key column. But on this table, it will no longer be a primary key column because it does not belong to this table. It is coming from this citizen table. Hence, it's going to be a foreign key column on this table. Although this is not how to reference it. I'll show you. But I'm just trying to show you that here it will become a foreign key. What does that mean? It means that the primary key, the NIN primary key, is the primary key column on the citizens table. But now that it is referenced in the driver's license table, it will not be a primary key, it will be a foreign key. Does that make sense? Right? And this idea of primary key and foreign key and the relationships between tables is what we use to create data model. Right? Is what we use to create a data model. Right? So when you are creating your tables, you want to identify the columns that are primary keys, the columns that are foreign keys, right? You want to know where these columns are coming from, right? So that you can what? You can reference them in form of a primary key and a foreign key. Let me show you an example, right? We have an example here, right? We have an example here. Now look at this table, right? I hope you can see my screen. Let me just zoom it out a little bit so that you can see. Please, I need responses. As much as I don't want us to break the class, I also need responses, right? So please talk to me, right? Talk to me. All right. So if you look at this, we're creating a regions table here, and we look at it. Regions table. We did not add the primary key at immediately after it. What we added was we created the primary key afterward. This is at the table level, right? This is table level creation. I explained this already, right? So that table has a primary key. Countries has another primary key. Countries table, all right, has its own primary key on country ID. The first one is region ID, right? Locations ID, all right? Locations has its own ID. Department has its own ID as primary key. Jobs would have primary job ID as primary key. Employees would have employee ID as primary key. Can you see? Job history would have, okay, job history does not have a primary key because it is leveraging on employees, right? We'll talk about that later, right? And so on and so forth, right? We can continue that. So if I scroll down to the last part of this table, right? Look at this statement. I hope you can see this statement, this alter table statement, right? Alter table countries, add foreign key, right? Can you see? We are adding the foreign key. We're adding what the region ID as a foreign key on the countries table, right? But it is coming from what? It is referencing the regions ID, the regions table regions ID. What does that mean? It means that when I am creating my tables, right? I created the countries table. Look at it. I created the regions table, right? Can you see region? Region as ID. But if you look at the countries table, right? You can see region ID as well. Look at it. Region ID. Region is from this table. It is a primary key on this table. But on the countries table, right, the region is now what? Is now a foreign key because region, it no longer belongs to the table where it's coming from. I mean, no longer belongs to it's not in its natural environment. It is in another table. Hence, on this table, I have to make it a foreign key, which is what we are doing here. Look at it. Alter table. All right. Add foreign key to that what countries, region ID, which is on the countries table. Add a foreign key to it. Add a foreign key constraint to it. That's basically what we're doing. And what does that constraint do? That constraint is linking. That's why you use the word references. References links that column on the on the countries table, right? The region ID on the countries table to the region ID on the regions table. Hence, what do you say? We would say that the country, look at it. Just look at me, right? Let me show you this. Countries dot region underscore ID would be equals to region underscore region dot region underscore ID. What does this mean? Countries table has a region ID. Right? Countries table has a region ID. This region ID is coming from where? It's coming from the regions table. Right? Can you see? This region ID, even though it is present in the countries table, does not belong to the countries table. It is coming from what? From the regions table. Such that the referencing, the foreign key, the function of the foreign key is to make sure that the data in the regions ID column of the region ID column of the countries table is actually coming from the regions ID column on the regions table. So it is feeding from what? From here. If you try to insert a value on the region's ID column on the countries table, and that value does not what already exist in the region's ID of the regions table, it will not what? It will not work. What does that mean? It means that the what? The value must first be present on the region's ID column, the regions table, before it can be used on the region's ID column of the countries table. Let's look at it this way. Let me break it down this way so that you understand. When you have a father and a son, right, or a father and a child, right, say they look alike, right? What it means is that you're saying that the father and the son correlates, right, or the child correlates. It means that most of the attitudes that the father has, most of the acts, most of the behavior that the father has, the son would have it, right? But the son would not have it if he does not what? If it's not present in the father. Because why? It is sharing from what? The son shared what? Shared the traits from the father's gene. Hence, whatever is most of what is expressed, now it might not be everything, but most of what is expressed in the father, right? Most of what is expressed in the son must first be expressed in the father. And it's the same thing that we're doing here, even though that here it is absolute, right? Whatever value you have on the region's ID of the regions column must exist before it can exist in the regions ID of the countries column. And that is because of the foreign key. So the foreign key column, right? The foreign key column on a table, right, gets its data from the parent table. In this situation, the regions table is the parent table. And what is the parent table for what? For the region ID. And the countries table is the child table for the region ID. So, of course, the child depends on the parent. Please let me know if you understood that. Please let me know if you understood that. I need to know if you understood that plenty explanation. Please let me know. Raise your hand. Yeah, I need you to ask questions. If you I really need you to ask questions so that I can better explain it and we can move on from there. Right? Foreign key is one of those constraints that gives people problem, right? But it's not hard, right? Because it's already exists, right? Are you following me? So I want us to talk about it, right? If you understand it, all right. Madam Susan, talk to me.
I understand it.
Talk to me. Oh, awesome. All right. Awesome. Who else? Talk to me, people. Talk to me. Raise your hand if you understood it. Hello. Raise your hand if you understood the concept we just explained or I just explained. I'm not hearing from my regular people, Madam Anu. Talk to me. Okay. Ebube is good. Awesome. Talk to me, people. Talk to me. Oh, great. Awesome. You see, constraint is not hard, right? So we have primary key constraint, which uniquely identifies values in a column and ensures that what the values are not what cannot be duplicated. We have foreign key. Foreign key now is that column that is a primary key on a particular table being what referenced, that is present in another table, being referenced on another table. Once that column, and this is it, they must have the same value, right? We'll talk about their relationships more when we get to Power BI, right? Because you now begin to have you now begin to have what kind of relationship they have, right? What kind of relationship they have. Remember that on the primary key column, right, the values cannot be duplicated, but on the foreign key column, the values can be duplicated, right? The values can be duplicated if it's a situation where the values can be duplicated. If it's not a situation where the values can be duplicated, then you have a one-on-one or one-to-one relationship. Every citizen in Nigeria can only have one driver's license. Hence, that is a one-to-one relationship, right? But every citizen in Nigeria can have multiple addresses. You can stay, you can have multiple houses, such that on the database, on the address or the housing database, you are what? Even though you are one person as a citizen, you are appearing in multiple what? You are appearing multiple times on the what? On the housing database. Hence, you see that you have what? You have a one-to-many relationship, right? So we can check for cardinalities, right? That cardinality will let us know what is the degree of relationship between the primary key and the foreign key. Is it a one-to-one relationship or is it a one-to-many relationship, right? And we also have many-to-many relationship, which is not very common, right? But you usually have most of the time one-to-many relationship or many-to-one relationship, right? We'll talk about all of that when we get to Power BI, right? But what I want you to understand is that primary keys, when referenced on another table, it becomes a foreign key. It's that simple, right? It's that simple. It's that simple, right? It is as simple as that, right? We will talk about these much later, right? We'll talk about it when we start inserting values, right? When we start talking about DMLs, we'll come back to foreign key because we want to be able to alter the table, right? At that point, we'll be using these tables with this schema, right? We'll use this schema to explain a whole lot of stuff, right? We'll use this schema to explain a whole lot of. Look at it here. Look at it. Locations. The same country ID, right? Country now has country ID. Country ID is now referenced on locations. Can you see? And we're saying that it's coming from that column is coming from what? From the countries table. Location ID is referenced on the departments table, and it's coming from what? From the locations table. Job ID is referenced on the employees table. It is coming from what? From the jobs table. Right? If you look at it, on the employee table, we have 3 foreign keys. 3 different tables are linked to the employees tables. The job ID from the jobs table, the department ID from the departments table, and the employee ID itself, right? Becoming a manager ID. We'll talk about this. This is joining a table to itself, right? In this situation, this part, we joined a table to itself. We'll talk about it much later, right? We'll talk about it much later. Then you see the employee ID, right? Which is the manager ID now, is now referenced on what? On what? On the department table. Then on the what? On the job history table, you also have another, you have 3 different what? 3 different column tables, right? Being referenced, 3 different columns coming from 3 different tables referenced on the job history table. The employee ID of the employees table is now referenced on the job history table. Can you see? Right? The job ID from the jobs table is what? Is also referenced on the job history table. And the department ID from the department's table is also referenced on the what? On the job history table. We'll talk about all of this much later. I just want to introduce you to the foreign key idea, right? It is what we use. We'll talk about it when we get to Power BI as well, so that you'll see it more clearly, right? But it is also very good that you understand it from SQL, because really it is what you use to build your data model, right? It's what you use to build your data model, right? If you look at it, right? I just want to embellish this one more time so that we can move on, right? If I reverse engineer the HR schema, right? Where's the schema? Let me see. Okay, let me just run this schema top to bottom so that I can reverse engineer it to you so that you can see what I mean, right? Let's see that. Are we? Is there an HR schema here? Let's see. All right. All right, the schema is running. Schema is, it's done already, right? Done already, right? So let me activate. You see the HR schema is here already. Can you see all the tables, all the views created already, right? Let's activate. Let me just use HR. Okay, HR is active already, right? Let me reverse engineer this table so that you can see what I mean by data model here. Next. So I'm using the HR schema. Next. This same thing is what we usually do on Power Query, right? Where you create your models, right? Can you see this is what we call the ER diagram, right? Can you see this is the ER diagram? Right, can you see this is what we call the ER diagram? Let's expand it a little bit so that we can see better, right? Let's expand it a little bit. Right, so we call this the ER diagram. And basically, what does this mean? Right, this is the relationship. This is what the relationship between the primary keys and the foreign keys what does. Look at it. Let's start from the employees table. Look at the employees table, right? Remember I said that what 3 tables are linked to the employees table. Look at it. 3 tables linked to the employees table. All right, look at this. These lines represent the what? The link. Look at this. What is this saying? Let me bring this up so that you can see it well. Awesome. Okay, good. Right. If I put my cursor on this, I hope you can see, right? I hope you can see. I'm just putting my cursor on.
Yeah.
I don't want that overlap. Aha. Right. Look at it. If I put my cursor on that line, you see that on both tables, the department ID column is selected. But look at it. The department ID column here, right? The notation that this uses is that it adds the what? It adds the foreign key as the last column. The foreign key is the last column. Look at it. The primary, you look at this table, you'll see that there is a key, like a key-like function in front of it. Let me see if I can zoom this guy. Okay. Right? You see that there's a key-like structure in front of that department ID. There's a key-like structure in front of the employee's ID. But if you put my cursor on this now, look at it. It's telling me that what? Basically, what it's telling me is that this department ID is coming from the department table. Look at the second one, right? Now, look at this. The inverse is now the case. The employee ID is now referenced as the manager ID on the department table. Employee ID here on the employee table has become manager on the department ID because it's acting now as what? As a foreign key, right? Now here we are adding, look at this table. We're joining this table to itself. The employee ID is now what? Is also what we call the foreign key here, which is what? Which is the manager ID. We'll talk about that when we get to joining, right? Look at the job history table. The employee ID is what? Is present on that table. Can you see? Look at it. The employee ID is present on that table. On the employee table is the primary key. On this table is now a foreign key, right? What is this one? Department ID is also present on the job history table, right? On the department ID table, on the department table is the primary key. On the job history table is the foreign key, right? And that is the situation that you have, right? You can see locations ID. On the locations table is the primary key, but on the department table is a foreign key. And that is how we created this relationship. The essence of this relationship is such that when you are writing a query, this is what we call a normalized environment. This is a normalized database. The tables are linked to themselves such that one single table does not have to have all of the data. The tables are linked to themselves so that when you write a query, you can query multiple tables. You can return, when we say query, you are getting results, right, from multiple tables at the same time. You can join two columns here to join two columns here, to join one column here, to join one column here, and as your query, right? So it allows us what? To also it allows us to have what we call data consistency, data integrity, and data accuracy, right? Your data will not, and of course, reduces what? Redundancy. Your data will not be duplicated anyhow or mirrored anyhow, such that what? It drags your resources down or slows down your system or wears down the database, and the database is mixed, right? You can have data concurrency, data integrity, data accuracy, everything all in one, so that you have a neat environment, you have a neat database. And that is the essence of relationships created between primary keys and foreign keys, right? We'll look at all of these as we proceed, right? SQL is really awesome, right? SQL is really awesome, right? SQL is really awesome. So let us move to the next thing that we want to talk today. If you have any questions, please talk to me now, right? I want to move to the next thing that I want to talk today. I'm moving to the next chapter, right? Which is, I'm going to put that in capital, right? Data manipulation. Now that you have created a table, right? Let's talk about data manipulation language. We'll still come back to data definition language when we want to create views, right? When we want to create views and indexes and all of that. But let us create what's it called? Hold on. Let's see. Before I jump, let me see. Okay, I think we should talk about indexes before we talk about I think we should talk about indexes before we talk about DML statements. You're going to be creating a whole lot of your assignments this time around is going to be more than usual, right? Because we're going to be creating a whole lot of objects this time around. All right, so please listen. I hope you can hear me. I hope I'm very audible. Please listen attentively as we proceed. I want to jump right into okay, we've talked about author table. So that you don't think I'm not following my slides, even though still they are not complete yet. But you have to forgive me, right? So we finished drop columns, right? We'll talk about truncates later when we have a table to truncate. We don't have a table to truncate at the moment. Okay. I think there are some things that I need to talk about here before we move. Okay, we've talked about how to modify, how to drop. Let's talk about how to alter a column. And okay. Modify. Let's go back to that. Please follow me. All right, look at this table. Let me bring this down. All right. Look at this table. When we created this table, that is the what schema is that now? Nigeria. So let's go back to Nigeria. I hope we're not lost as well. Switching from schema to schema, right? It's just to make it more interesting, right? So let's go back to Nigeria schema, right? All right. So let's describe what's that table now. Okay, let's describe citizens again. Let's see if we can do some magic with it, right? So I've described citizens this time around. Let's go back to it. I want to reorder some columns. Where are you? All right. Nigeria. I didn't run that Swiss Nigeria. What is it? Sorry. All right. Use Nigeria, describe citizen. All right, let's look at it, right? We want to rearrange some of this. I want to bring look at where phone number is. I hope you're following me. Look at where phone number is. I want to bring the phone number after. I want the phone number to be after the gender column, right? So let me put it here so that we can see. Make the phone number come after the gender column. Right? Make the phone number come after the gender column. Let me show you how to make a column first. Make the local government column the first column, right? We want to make the phone number come after the gender column, right? And make the local government column the first column, right? Let's see if it is doable or not, right? So we use the alter table statement to do that, right? So if you look at the statement that we have here, look at it, alter table, right? We'll talk about, alter table, look at it, alter table, modify the column, then bring it afterwards, after manager, right? Let's see example. Hold on. Alter table citizen modify phone number. All right. What's that phone number earlier? Is integer unsigned, right? Then we said we should what? The phone number should come afterwards. Where is it? Come after the gender column. So where is our gender column? Right? So I say come after gender. Let's run it. Let's run that. All right. Let's describe the table again. Let's see if that's really worked. All right. Can you see? Phone number, gender, phone number. Can you see? Gender, phone number. The phone number is no longer where it was before.
Please excuse me, I can't even see
Talk
your
to
screen.
me.
No, I can't see your screen. I'm just seeing your face.
Wait. My face there. Face is not what you should see. Can everybody see my screen? I mean, see my screen here. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
I can see your screen. I can see your screen.
Oh, I can see your screen. I can see it.
Sammy.
I'll stop seeing
Can't
your
s-
screen. Oh.
Hey, stop
Yeah.
again.
I
Don't
was
stop
seeing it
it.
before, but can't see it
I'm
again.
about net.
I'm not seeing
All
your
right.
screen.
What it might be network. You are not seeing my screen.
Yeah, sure. Just now.
If you can't see my screen,
I
log
cannot
out
see
and
your
log in.
screen.
Log out and log in. If you can't see my screen, just log out and log in. You'll see my screen. All right. I'll also stop sharing and reshare here as well so that we can all see my screen. Please just raise your hand if you can see my screen now. Especially the people who could not see the screen earlier. Please just raise your hand if you can see the screen now. We have 1 hour, 5 minutes to go, and we have not covered what we need to cover today. So please, let's go. If you can see my screen, right, just raise your hand so that I can confirm. Okay. Sammy, can you see the screen now?
No, I can't see it still.
Wow. Can every other person see my screen? Queen, can you see my screen? Madam Susan, can you see my screen now?
So we can see your screen.
No,
Yes,
sir.
we can
I
see
your
it.
screen.
I can see it.
I'm not seeing your screen.
I'm
I'm
not
not
seeing
seeing
it.
my screen. 3 people can see my screen. How? Why? What network are
I
you
think
using?
they are seeing
Change
it,
network.
but they don't know that they are seeing it. Because
They are seeing
your
it. They don't. Okay, let me.
yes.
Can you see my? Can you see my workbench now?
Yes, I can see it now.
Yes, I can see it now.
Yes.
I
And you
can't
say
see
you
it.
can't see my screen.
I'm not even seeing. I'm just seeing just your face. I'm not seeing any other thing.
You love my face too much, right? Log out again and log in. I think it's just the network. Log out again and log in. All right. For every other person I can see my screen. Do you understand what I did here? Right? Look at it. What I did was just to modify the column phone number and I made it what? Come afterwards, the column that I wanted it to come after. Make sense? Are we there?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, it makes sense.
Sorry, sir, can you scroll up a bit?
I still can't see your screen. I don't know. I've tried to join in. I put my phone on airplane. I don't even know what to do again.
Hey, hold on. Just chill. Chill. Okay, what you do is look for a screen that is not in the how do I put it now? In the grid of people on the class, right? Look for don't spotlight my screen or my own interface, right? If you don't spotlight my interface, the screen should come up. What it means is that I have two screens on your system at the moment. I have my interface, my face that you're seeing, my video, and the presentation. So try and look for in the people, try and look for the presentation and spotlight that. I hope what I said makes sense. Ebuka, are you good? Can you see?
Yes, sir, it's not like this.
All right, so the next one we want to do is to make what we said, make the local government column the first column, right? So just going to copy this. My codes are reusable. So I'm going to modify, this time around, I'm modifying the local government. Right. What is the local government budget 25? Right? And instead of after, I'm just going to say first. Right? So if we run that, local government should be first now when we describe the citizens table. Can you see? Local government is first now. Local government is first now. Right? So that is how to rearrange your columns. That's how to rearrange your columns on the database, on your schema. That's how to arrange your columns in your schema. Right? Now that we have done that, let's return NIN to be the first column. Local government should not be the first column, right? So we say NIN, modify NIN. NIN is what? Integer.
Unsigned.
Yeah. Oshe, my assistant lecturer, you are doing well. All right. So you describe that now. Right? Let me comment this. The All right. All right, so that is basically how to rearrange your columns. All right. Lastly, for this now, before we move on to DML, I want to talk about. So the question would be that so on the citizens table, I want to create a small table that I can use to explain what I want to explain. All right. So I say create table, create table T, right? Create table T. So my first column is C1, integer C2, character 1. Right. So let me just close this. Right. This is my table, create table. Right. So if I reload my schema again, collapse the HR. Can you see table T? Can you see it here? Table T. So if we describe table T, I just want to use this table to show you something. Describe table T. Right. Can you see it has two columns? Right. It has two columns. C1 and C2. Right. So my business case will be add 5 more columns to table T, right? I want to add 5 more columns to table T. How do I do that? Do I have to add them one after the other? Or can I add them together, right? You can add together, you can modify multiple tables together, you can drop multiple tables together, and so on and so forth, right? So let's start with adding, right? So if I say alter table T, right? Alter table T, add C3, C3 integer, add, hold on, 1 minute. Yes. Just wanted to confirm that. Add C4, but 20. Add C5. Int. Big int. Add C6. Float. Add C7. If I run this now, right? You can see the table is executed. If we describe table T now, all the columns added. So you can add multiple tables at the same time. That's basically what I wanted to show you there. You can add multiple tables at the same time, right? Multiple columns, sorry. Right? So you can also do that with every other function or every other clause of the alter table, right? We can modify multiple tables at the same time. So modify now. right? We can modify multiple tables at the same time as well. I hope we're following, right? Same statement, alter table. C, modify, let's modify C1, modify C1 int unsigned. We didn't add unsigned before, let's call it unsigned, right? Modify C2 will become 4 characters. Modify C5, was in C5 to integer, right? Unsigned, right? And that's all. Let's modify these 3, right? We run that, right? And we check and we describe the table again. Right? So can you see? Integer is now unsigned, character is now 4. The length is 4, and C5 is also what? It's also integer unsigned instead of big int that it was before. So you can modify multiple tables at the same time as well, right? And this time around, want to what? Delete or drop multiple columns, sorry. Modify multiple columns and drop multiple columns at the same time. You can rename multiple columns at the same time as well, right? Let me drop these columns that we have here. Okay, let's do rename first. Rename. I hope you're following me. I hope I'm not too fast, all right? Let me know if I'm too fast so I can slow down my speed.
So please slow down small.
All right, rename C1 to the scores, right? All right, so we're renaming C1 to scores. Let's rename C2 to what now? Car, because you called me just now. Then C3. I hope this works. I've not tried renaming multiple columns at the same time before. This is giving me error already. Hold on. It's my renaming not working. Name column, sorry. That's what was missing. Yeah. Name column, sorry. All right, so we're renaming all these columns at the same time. So we describe table T again. Can you see? Scores, evoker, and coin. And lastly, we can drop them. We can drop the columns as well. Multiple columns at the same time. Dropping multiple columns. right? So we're dropping all these columns at the same time. So if we run, we describe our table again, it should be gone. Remember that you can use describe as full. Describe the C. Right? So you see that they are all gone. They are all gone. Any question, please ask me questions now before we move to the next topic.
Okay, sir. I have a question.
Yes, please talk to me.
Yes. When I want to ask, do you have that that a schema for T in your schema before? Because I noticed you didn't create
So I think
a schema for it,
I
and
created
it
it.
works here
No,
now
no,
or
no, no, no,
before.
no.
You have it already.
I created C as a table inside Nigeria. Nigeria is a schema. It's a table inside Nigeria.
I didn't see
Inside
that.
a schema, right? Nigeria is a schema. Inside the schema, you can have
Okay.
multiple objects. Remember, I told you that a schema is like your room. Inside your room, you can have multiple objects. It's the same thing, right? So I created a schema. I have a schema where which is Nigeria, and inside Nigeria. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Right. I want to change the name of the table, alter table C. Rename to tables. All right. If I reload my schema now, you see that table T is now tables.
Okay, I've seen it.
All right. Any question? Any question? Any question so far? Any questions so far?
Then that means when we are in SQL, SQL, we can use capital letter, which is not applicable in our
Yes, you can use capital letter, you can use small letter. Yes. And remember, I'm not sure if I remember saying to you that SQL is, yes, I think I mentioned it. SQL is not only
I can hear you, sir.
I can't hear you, Sam.
I think it's cracking though. I can't tell you.
All right, can you hear me?
I hear you now.
Yes,
Hello,
I
can you hear
can
me?
hear you.
Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
can now.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, network dealt with me. All right, thank you. Thank you for understanding. All right, so I was explaining before the letter disconnected me that this SQL statement that you are learning applies to every DBMS, right? Data. Apologize. My network is doing anyhow. Please, can you still hear me?
Yes, sir. Just now. We didn't hear you before, but we can hear you now.
I can hear you, sir.
Can you hear me, please? Apologize. Sorry. Network is really messing up. Okay, Viola, you want to say something? So this DBMS, this SQL statement, right, works for every DBMS. That's basically what I want to say. So it's not just for MySQL, right? It works for every DBMS, right? You only have a few differences amongst them, right? In terms of data types, in terms of a few things that some of the DBMS softwares have created for themselves. But generally, the dialect is the same across board, right? So awesome. Any question? Any question? Any? Or a little? I'm so sorry. This is becoming stressful. If please let me know if you can hear me. If this disconnects,
Hello.
can you hear me?
I think his network. Okay.
So network is too bad. So it's better we call it to this. Hello.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. But the network is not stable at all. It's really affecting you.
I can't hear you, sir.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yes,
I can
it's
hear
better
you.
than you now.
Yes, sir, it's better now.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I apologize. Network decides to mess me up this night. And all right. You can still see my screen, right? So I wanted to say that, or what I was saying is that this language that you're learning applies to every DBMS, right? So you might just have to just hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, but sir, I can't see your screen.
Yes, I'm not. The network will not even transmit my screen. I'm
Yes.
actually sharing my screen, but um, this is frustrating.
Hello. It's better we call it again now. The network is too bad. Too bad.
Hello, everyone. I am so sorry. I apologize for the break. It's network issue, and I've been trying to. I will make sure that this does not happen again.
So I don't know whether I'm the only one
So I
not hearing
apologize
anything.
once again.
Anything.
Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Thank you, Viola. Can anybody hear me? Please let me know.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Can hear you now.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Yes.
We are here, sir. Hello, sir.
Please, we'll start early tomorrow. Please join early tomorrow so that we can start early. Yes, talk to me. Really, seriously. Anyway.